The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel welcomes you to this edition of the Mayor's and Supervisors Weekly Update, brought to you by...
Each week, our community makes history. Each week, you make history. And each week, there's only one source to turn to for the first take on history. You know what that is? Subscribe to the Sentinel right now to discover the history being made in your own backyard.
The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel. More than just your news, it's your history.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of the Mayor's and Supervisors Update. I'm Chris Carosa, publisher of the Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel, and each week we bring you the goings-on in the towns and villages we cover. This week we're starting with Mike Falk in the town of Lima. Mike, what's going on in Lima?
Hello, Chris. Thanks for hosting us again. Town of Lima Water District 5 had a referendum on Tuesday, the 15th of July. The vote was 160 yes to 83 no. So the district has passed. It is formed officially as of July 15th. On Thursday, the 17th of July, the town board had a special meeting and voted to move forward with starting the process of engineering, the grant management and project management. All of the funding for the district project is in place right now, so we don't have to wait on applying for anything else. We can move forward immediately, and that's what we're doing. Construction has started at the town hall for the Siemens project. They are emplacing the concrete pads outside to hold the compressor units for the mini split systems that are replacing the old steam boiler. The final finishing of the concrete will be Monday, July 21st. So glad we are on our way with that project. Setup for the Crossroads Festival will start in the village here downtown on July 29th. Same day as the farmers market. One of the tents will be going up over at Fanatics. Then, of course, the festival kicks off on Thursday, July 31st with the townwide parade. This is a driving parade. We start in South Lima and we come up and crisscross through the village a couple times and go through various streets. The route is listed up on the website. If your organization wants to be part of it, then you show up in South Lima starting at 5 o'clock on that day. Right on Garden Street, just fall in at the end of the line. We step off the parade at 6. It's an hour, 15, hour and a half of driving at 15 miles an hour. So if your speed racer has a really heavy clutch and you're really not geared low, then maybe not, but we'll see. The Sentinel will have details on the festival also published. And otherwise, go to the website, limafest.org. All the details are there. Bands, family events, kids events, all of the different things. Going to be a great festival this year, and I hope to see you there. And that's all I got, Chris.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Over to Rick in the village of Honeoye Falls. What's happening there?
Hell, there's a lot going on, Chris, and great to see everybody today. And congratulations to Lima on their vote for their water district. I know that was a lot of work. Here in the village of Honeoye Falls, it continues to be village tax season, and our deputy clerk treasurer, Melissa Luft, has been very busy accepting our village tax payments. I keep mentioning this because, remember, if you haven't paid your village taxes by now, they are past due, and you will be subject to a late payment fee. That's something we can't just forgive. That doesn't work legally that way. But payments can be made directly to the village of Honeoye Falls. They're paid at the village hall during our regular business hours at 5 East Street in the village. If you still need to make a payment, you can call the village office, 624-1711. Talk to Melissa, make sure that we're going to be open when you're going to stop down. We also do have a mail slot that you can put your envelope through and we'll get it collected. At last count, we were only missing somewhere between 40 and 45 payments. So that's really not bad at all. We're doing pretty good, but we don't want to charge people a late fee. We really don't. So get your payments in. The project at Harry Allen Park is moving along. While the focus and the visual focus is really the gazebo rebuild, which it seems to be moving slowly. I've had a couple people mention that to me because you go by for a few days and there doesn't seem to be a lot of progress. But what people are not seeing is that we're also working on a bunch of electric upgrades throughout the whole park that also tie into the gazebo. So they all go hand in hand, and so the gazebo is moving forward, but we're doing some other work now as well. Along that project, the old schoolhouse, as of this presentation, the old schoolhouse painting project, I believe, is completed or almost completed. We've repainted the whole inside. The exterior has been painted. Looks really nice. We're going to put new imitation window shades on, etc., to make it look a little bit nicer. But those things are all coming, and we'll be moving over to the museum as well, and that's going to get repainted on the outside also. So we're excited about this. It is positive progress on this project. A few people have also mentioned to me again about the memorial bricks that were around the gazebo. These bricks have been removed as of this week. We are keeping them. We are not throwing these bricks away, and we will work with all of our residents and those who had memorial bricks in there to get them picked up, and people can put them at their own home or put them someplace else that they would like to see these bricks utilized. We're going to be putting in a whole new walkway and all that will eliminate these bricks. So, but we want to make sure that they do get to people who paid for them and who had their families' names on these bricks. We've also had quite a few continual questions really over the last couple of years now about the 20 North Main Street site, which was formerly Critics. The village has been working on a new property survey for that site and adjusting some of the lot lines to clean up older maps that quite honestly were incomplete or inaccurate. There's actually 2 lots that are involved in this 20 North Main Street site, and we're actually combining the 2 lots into one larger lot. And while at this point in time, and I know people, complain about talking about something and then not giving all the detail, but there's reasons for that sometimes, right? While we can't offer a lot of details, we are working with a potential purchaser for a new business that we believe would be very beneficial to the community. We don't know if this is going to move forward or not, but it's moving along very positively. And when discussions move further ahead, the village will certainly craft a more formal discussion and presentation that details what we're doing with that property. So, be watching. We'll get that information out as soon as we have a deal in place. Paving. This is the time of year when everyone's doing their paving projects. The village will be paving Paper Mill Street and Creekside Drive this coming week, the week of the 21st. Signs are posted locally for notifications. We've made notifications to some of the businesses and the residents. We always appreciate, as always, we appreciate the town of Mendon's assistance with these paving projects. We work together, all of our communities work together on a lot of these paving projects. Certainly the town does a lot of paving, and they're really great experts with it. So we appreciate their help. And we're helping them out on a big project they have out on Boughton Hill Road, where we share some of our resources and personnel, et cetera, to complete some of these tasks. So that's, just again, another way that our communities do work together. As of this morning, here on Friday is this presentation is being put together, but we have a new solar table that has been placed at the Pocket Park on West Main Street. This has been placed through an agreement between the Village of Honeoye Falls and the County of Monroe and the library system. This is through a grant process and part of the county's push to get more free Wi-Fi out there to the general public. and also better connectivity. This is a solar table. It has multiple charging ports on it for phones. You got to bring your own plug at this point in time, though. But multiple charging ports for any type of phone, and plugs to charge in your laptops, your iPads, your phones, whatever, to charge them up. Next week, a Wi-Fi router will be turned on, and this should be a good, free hotspot to connect with. So we're looking forward to that use. And then lastly, I've been talking about this each week again for a number of weeks, but it's very important. Our wastewater treatment plant project, we continue to look for as many letters of support for this new plant build as possible. We've received some great letters from both businesses and residents, and I thank all of those who have sent letters in. We certainly have a few more days to accept more letters, but the time is drawing near for the application and for the grant funding to be sent in. So your letter of support may help us in attaining grant funding and thus keeping costs off the tax rolls. Please consider sending that letter in, but we really need it delivered by this coming Wednesday, the 25th. They can be sent to my attention at the Village of Honeoye Falls, 5 East Street, Honeoye Falls, or certainly mayor@villageofhoneoyefalls.gov. Again, we appreciate the support. Things are going very well. We will have those 2 grant requests in on schedule before the 31st of July. And we're really hoping to nail a couple of these grants this year. So thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate it as always.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Now it's over to John. John, what's moving in Mendon?
Well, back in 1971, there was a band called the 5-Man Electrical Band, and they put out a song called Signs. And Signs, it could be played in Mendon today, not necessarily for the lyrics of that song. I'm not going to sing it because I think there's a couple of churches that have banned me because of my ability not to sing on tune. But the town board has a pending new law regarding temporary signs. And we had a public hearing back on the 14th of July, and the town board decided to leave it open. We did have several residents attend and several residents send in emails, but quite frankly, we haven't heard from enough people. And, our next meeting is August 11th. The public hearing will be open on that night. We'd love to hear from you. If you can't come, send us an email. We have no problem. I will read the emails at the public hearing. But we need to know what you think of this new law. And quite frankly, yesterday I was out with an employee and we picked up over 20 illegal temporary signs. And when I say illegal, I mean they're within 15 feet of the edge of the road. And it doesn't matter whether it's a state road, a county road, or a town road. This is the current town code. They range in everything from driveway sealers to garage sales to political signs to church dinners, you name it. Keep the signs back 15 feet. We don't have a problem. However, we are not going to be able to continue to, go out and spend, quite frankly, valuable time or hire somebody full time just to pick up signs. We're asking that the public be aware of the new legislation that could be passed at the next meeting and conform to that. I also want to add that this zoning code regarding signs is applicable only in the town of Mendon, outside the village of Honeoye Falls. And as Chris knows, one of my major bugaboos is that, no offense to the village of Honeoye Falls, but your mailing address does not indicate where you live as far as your municipality. So I just want to remind everybody to take a look at the law. It's on our website. We'd love to hear from you. We are concerned because we want to do it right, and we want to do it right once. Second, as Mayor Milne mentioned, there's a lot of road projects going on. They aren't all finished. Some of them have been started. Some of them require that additional forces, meaning individual companies, are going to be necessary to complete the road projects. In particular, Boughton Hill Road. You know it's been started. You know it, all of a sudden it's stopped because we are waiting for a company to come in who's going to help finish that road because they have the particular equipment necessary to do that. I would tell everyone to avoid Boughton Hill Road over the next few weeks, and that traffic, of course, is going to go somewhere else. And a lot of folks went to Cheese Factory Road, and guess what? A lot of folks on Cheese Factory Road called up and complained, why is there so much traffic? There's trucks down here, etc. You know, that old saying, there's two seasons in New York, you know, snow and construction is somewhat true this year. There's a lot of projects. We have a lot of other projects that are going to be done regarding some small bridges and in the town of Mendon over the next couple of years. So I would remind everybody to check the website of the town of Mendon, follow the Facebook page so that you know where the construction is, because quite frankly, we don't want to hold you up. And that covers us for the town of Mendon today. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, John. Now it's over to Steve and Henrietta. Steve, what's happening in Henrietta?
Howdy. So first, I'll just touch an old topic since I haven't been on a little while, was the flooding that we had. I don't know what it's been now, 3 weeks or so. One of the things we've seen is storms have been getting seemingly greater volume and more frequency. I was joking with the DEC that they're going to have to rename the floods or the storm events. They talk about the 50-year storm and the 100-year storm. It's really 1% and 2% chance, but I think those odds are going up. So, but anyway, we've been having discussions with the DEC. One of the places that we have an issue, there's 4 main branches of Red Creek. West branch, central, south, and east branches. South branch comes from the town of Rush, and as you can imagine, during they saw upwards of 7 inches of rain in 2 hours, washed out a couple of their roads. Well, you could actually watch that water reach Henrietta. You could see the creeks just starting to rise quickly, not as fast as what, sadly happened in Texas, but it was pretty impressive to watch that rise. There's an area near the school's transportation center. It's about 100 acres of low-lying wetland, and we've proposed to them the idea of building a weir across that. A weir is basically a low dam that is intended to be topped if the water level gets too high, but in this case it would be a notched weir, and that notch would be the width for the normal flow of Red Creek when it's not raining. And then the idea is during heavy storm events, that weir would hold back the extra water and would only allow the normal flow through. That area, it sits about 3 feet down. So if we built a 2-foot weir, we could actually detain up to 9 million cubic yards of water. Cubic feet of water. That's a lot of water. And then the idea is what would happen is would, start to pile up behind the weir, but it would continue to flow through that gap. And so, over the next day, it would drain all the way back down. But what that would prevent is that huge rush of water from getting to the junction where it merges with the East Branch, which occurs near the Red Creek medical centers. And then also that then would keep it from continuing downstream where it merges with the other branches on Commerce Drive. We had a lot of flooding on Commerce Drive. It's not surprising. That whole area is a floodplain. You know, the people who had the most problems were these older buildings that weren't built by modern standards. Nowadays, you put your floor level 2 feet above the floodplain. Back then, they put it at the level of the floodplain. Needless to say, those older buildings, they also put in basements there, which doesn't make sense to me, but those basements all filled up with water. There's, you know, they said something about, well, could you put bigger culverts? I said, the water here was, you know, the level of the stream was higher than this, your entrance to your basement. You could put in as big a pipeline as you want. It's only going to bring the water back from the stream because the stream was higher. So the other big advantage of doing that is then that allows more water from the east branch to flow through. And that's important because the east branch flows past and through a lot of neighborhoods. And so we saw some people whose basements were inundated. That would help. So hopefully the DEC will go for it, but we'll see. Right now, my past 3+ weeks and my next 2 weeks have been all working on grants. We're pursuing 5 grants. And I'd like to thank Mr. Milne, in addition to serving in his role in the village, he's also a county legislator and one of the 3 who has written us letters of support for our grant projects. So the first 2 grants are kind of interrelated. We're looking to actually acquire the Dome Arena and build out the infrastructure around it so as to complete the development of town center. So if you look at the properties around there, the properties that were easily developed have all been developed into housing. The problem with a couple of the remaining properties is there is a sewer main that runs right through the middle of the parcels. And that makes it difficult to develop because now I have to split my buildings around that and I have to leave the proper setbacks. And so what we're proposing, there's something called a pro housing infrastructure grant. We would extend Fair Avenue south out to East Henrietta Road, and then we would relocate the sewer main to run through that right of way. That would get it out of the middle of those 2 parcels. It would push them to the very edge of those parcels, which would make them much more attractive for development. In fact, we already have a commitment from the Rochester Cornerstone Group, who would build another affordable complex, either affordable senior, which is what we would prefer. But the grant, there was some question at the state. The grant excludes senior and student housing, but it does include affordable housing. So I said, well, what about affordable senior? And the person from the state was like, you know, I don't know that answer. So, right, we need both. I would contend we need affordable senior more, just in that our waiting list for affordable senior housing in all our complexes is about 2 to 3 years out. And the affordable units that they built at Marketplace Mall sold out by 1 o'clock the first day they were open, and their waiting list jumped to 150% of capacity. So there is definitely a huge need for affordable senior housing. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. We might even be able to do both because there's a couple other parcels. So if one of those other parcels is willing to sell to the Cornerstone Group, then we could potentially have both. The reason that area would work so well for affordable housing is, first, it's walkable to Wegmans and drugstores, our library, our rec center, senior center, town park. It's all walkable. It's on a bus loop, and it's not in anybody's immediate backyard. You know, one of the things we always get frustrated hearing is members of town boards is, well, we need more affordable housing, just not in my backyard. So, you know, having these areas that they're really nobody's backyards, that's beneficial for those developments. The next 2 grants we'd be, or the next 2 grants we'd be going for the town are both recreation related. Actually, before I leave that, The dome is actually recreation related as well. Since I've been in office, early on, I basically moved the gymnastics director from a part-time to a full-time position. Since doing that, participation in the recreation program has doubled. We've also taken over the Special Olympics gymnastics program for the region, and we're bursting at the seams over at the rec center. So we would move the gymnastics over to Minette Hall, which is attached to the dome, and more than double its size. That would then free up that space in the recreation center. We've been having discussions with our Park and Rec Advisory Board as to the potential uses. One of the proposals I've heard was to put turf down there, so it could be used for soccer and baseball and other stuff like that. That would also resolve the issue of there's a pit in the middle of the floor for a foam pit that they use for gymnastics. So being able to essentially put in I'll call it a false floor on top of that, but then you'd see that transition unless I covered it with turf. So that could potentially work well. The other thing we would do over at Minette Hall, so that would account for about 16,000 square feet of its 32,000 square feet space. We'd use about 8,000 square feet to build a floor hockey rink. And that rink would be large enough that we'd be able to have pickleball courts across it. So basically that area would be either pickleball with the majority of the time, or floor hockey or indoor soccer. Right now we do floor hockey at our rec center. It does not work well. The walls are basically screens that drop down from the ceiling. The ball goes into other play areas, and then the outside wall is all uneven, and there's bleachers and there's other stuff. So it just does not work well. Having actual boards would help tremendously. It would also help for the pickleball players, because when you have a missed ball, today they have to go chase it again under the bleachers into the other courts. By having the boards backstop it, no one will have to go chasing a missed ball. So we're excited about that possibility. And then the remaining 8,000 would be split up into a couple general purpose rooms like we have. We have a lot of contention for those rooms at the rec center, so having a couple more would be great. And then they could also work well with the plans to use for the dome is as a community center. So, we're approaching 50,000 residents, and we do not have a community center where community groups can rent space, hold events, things like that. We also run into the problems when we have these large events. If there's rain or thunder, we have to cancel them. Being able to move them inside to the dome would be very beneficial. And then other purposes for the dome, they'd be a good congregation site for our high school. They could become a congregation site. It could become a congregation site for Gannett. Right now they use the high school. Obviously that's a problem if high school's in session. I should note that there's about half a dozen congregation sites. They split the region around Gannett into 5 or 6 portions, and each go to a different congregation site. As we saw during the pandemic, it makes a phenomenal point of distribution. So being able to get, to do vaccines, or like if there was ever a hepatitis outbreak and we had to distribute medicines, would work real well for that. And it would also work really well for a what I refer to as a super voting center. So right now, the reason towns have all these little polling sites is because they do pre-printed ballots for each election district. And so they break them up into these little polling sites, each with their own ballots. But with the new machines where I don't need pre-printed ballots, it really, to me, makes more sense to have one large voting center for the whole town, put all of your poll workers in that one location, so I can get people through very quickly and efficiently. And again, I think the dome would work fantastically for that. So that's what we're looking to do. We've had discussions with the current owners. Fortunately, they refurbished it about 3 to 4 years ago. I guess it's longer than that. It was pre-pandemic. The pandemic screws up my time sense. They, so it's in actually really good condition. The problem is what's also happened post-pandemic. There aren't as many, the business of concerts and large venue activities isn't as strong as it once was, and they're struggling to make money. And they've had a couple offers to come and knock it down and build something else, but I consider that to be iconic. And to be honest, if we take it over, I would register it as a historic site. It was built in 1972 as part of the Monroe County Fairgrounds. It's actually the last surviving portion of the Monroe County Fairgrounds, which were in Henrietta for half a century. So hopefully we'll be able to get that one, or those two, we'll see. The other two we're looking at is we are looking to convert our main playground from wood chips to rubberized surface. What that would allow us to do is it would be accessible. We would also add some accessible equipment, including things like we found this great swing that it's a double swing. One side of it is a wheelchair platform, the other side of it is a bench. So, one of the things that I've not been a fan of is when people create an accessible playground and it's separate from the main playground, because now kids who have mobility impairments kind of have to go off and play by themselves. They can't be with their siblings or their friends who want to play on the larger playground. So the idea is let's integrate it right into our main playground. I'll note the town of Webster did that years ago at their Ridge Park, and it looks very successful. I wasn't aware of that until I was doing research for this grant, but it's almost exactly what we want to do. So it was a perfect example to show that this is what we're trying to achieve. And then the last one for the town itself is a recreational trail program to start our river walk. So we would build our northern portion of the river walk. We're currently under construction for the East River Road sidewalk, which runs from along East River Road from Lehigh Station up through the RIT campus. And that would actually become, the northern portion of that would become part of the river walk. But then starting around the Lodge and Riverwood Tech campus, we would obtain an easement through their property to get out to the river. We've already had initial discussions. They're all on board. Obviously, they can't make a final decision until we have the ultimate plans. And their bank will have to sign off on it, but they are in general in support of the idea. From there, it would continue south through RG&E lands. We've already had discussions with them. We'd have to cross one private homeowner's property. We've had some initial discussions with him as well. I think that one's just going to be a negotiation of price. And then from there on, it's in town lands. Ultimately, we want to go all the way south. This is part of our local waterfront revitalization plan, which we did in conjunction with the town of Rush. So Rush is also building a Riverwalk trail. The two would connect. The southern end of Breeze Park and the northern end of 100 Acre Woods. And then from there, we've had discussions with this industry school to carry it south all the way to the Lehigh Valley Trail Diamond Branch, which runs east to west and even crosses the Genesee River and connects up with the Genesee Greenway. So it'd be a great interconnect at the RIT campus end. The East River Road sidewalk, to save taxpayer dollars, we've been doing that construction in conjunction with Monroe County DOT as they're doing their improvements in the highway itself. So that combination has saved about $300,000. And so I've approached the folks who got us a grant, a combination of Assembly Member Harry Bronson and then State Senator Pat Gallivan. Pat Gallivan is still around, but during redistricting, we no longer covered by Gallivan's territory. We're covered by Jeremy Cooney. But anyway, the idea would be we would use that additional money to create a sidewalk on the north side of Bailey Road, which would then connect this to the Lehigh Valley Trail North Branch, which runs all the way up through the U of R campus, all the way up to Genesee Valley Park, and therefore an interconnection with the Erie Canal Heritage Trail. So it'd be a great interconnect. We're really excited about it. The biggest challenge is going to be getting under the thruway. Not physically. The bridge that spans the Genesee River has a large flat abutment underneath that we could easily put a railing on it, and you'd be able to walk right under the thruway. It's going to be getting the New York State Thruway Authority to sign off on that. Hopefully I'm being pessimistic. Hopefully they'll be willing to go for it, but we will see. I've heard some horror stories about working with the thruway, but if we bring in enough political impact, hopefully we can get it done. And the last one we're going for isn't really for the town. We're submitting it on behalf of some of our property owners. We're going for a historic preservation grant for a number of properties in the West Hamlet. One, it's also part of the blight removal. So we do have a new owner of the former Cartwright's Inn, which I don't think anyone's going to argue that that's an eyesore or a blight right now. They would strip it down to its bones and rebuild it. They would remove, see it, Rick. They would have everybody, like I said, they'd strip it down to its bones, rebuild it. They'd knock down all the add-ons, the non-historic add-ons that are in really bad condition. But obviously that's a costly process, especially because there's going to be asbestos, there's going to be black mold because of how much it's fallen in disrepair. So they could use some help, but they have committed to that. They came in under a incentive zoning program to preserve historic properties. So we're very excited because that's one of the oldest buildings in town. So to see it restored is great. Right across the street is also a very old building. Ken's Pizza Corner used to be the Freemasons Lodge upstairs. If you look, the lime is starting to seep out of the mortars. So that's going to need some expensive repairs. The Henrietta Fire Hall number 2, also known as the West Henrietta Fire Hall, they could use some repairs. And then a couple others of the historic homes in the area are also going to be part of the grant. I will note that no taxpayer dollars are going to be used for that. Anyone who wants to be part of that grant, they have to commit the matching funds. It's just that this particular grant that we're going for has to be applied for by the municipality. And all the properties have to be registered historic properties. So if they're not currently on the register, they have to apply for historic status prior to September. So that's what we're working on.
Okay. Thanks a lot there, Steve. Definitely caught up on everything. Mike, anything more to add, or are we all set for this week? All right, great. Thanks for everybody for being here. Thank you all for watching. Remember, this program airs every Sunday at 1 p.m. on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Like the page, subscribe to the channel, and those platforms will notify you when the show begins. Otherwise, you can read the transcript in next week's paper. That's all for this week. Bye-bye for now.
Take care.
Imagine yourself communicating with a difference. Pan-Dimensional Solutions helps you do this. Whether live spectator events, taped broadcasts, or real-time audience-engaging programs, you can benefit immediately from the tools Pan-Dimensional Solutions will share with you. Do you want to make a difference? Contact us at pandimensional.com.